Today we are going to learn how to select an appropriate representation. Below are examples of why to choose a certain graph to represent your data over another graph. So appropriate representation means which graph would we use to represent this data. So we have a bar graph, which shows the number of items in specific categories. Box plot, which shows measures of variation for a set of data, also useful for very large sets of data. Histogram, which shows frequency of data divided into equal intervals. Line graphs show change over a period of time, and dot plots show how many times each number occurs. So data can be represented in many different ways. The representation you choose depends on your data and what you want to show. So number 1 says, which display allows you to tell the mode of the data? So we have lasagna orders each night, and we have it in a dot plot and we have it in a box plot. Which one would we immediately be able to tell the mode? And our answer is the dot plot, because the dot plot shows each night, and so the number of orders that occur most frequently is 27. Here is immediately showing us the mode, whereas the box plot, we're not sure where that mode is. The box plot shows the spread of data, but it does not show individual data. Therefore, we cannot find the mode. Number 2, which display allows you to easily tell the median of the data? And this question is talking about the lasagna orders each night. So where would we be able to find the median easily? And the answer to that is the box plot. The box plot allows us to easily find the mean. So we're going to write it in a complete sentence. I'm sorry, I said the mean. It's the median. We could look at the box plot and immediately say, right here, we have the median. Number 3 says, a survey compared different brands of sunscreen. The table shows the number of first choice responses for each brand. Select an appropriate type of display to compare the number of responses and justify your response. So here we have different brands, so it's different categories. If we look at our types of displays and when it's best to use it, we want to look for where it shows different brands, and it's going to allow us to compare the responses for each brand. And that is the bar graph, because this bar graph shows the number of items in specific categories. See, we don't want a line graph that shows change over time. We don't want a histogram that shows frequency of intervals, because we don't have intervals. We just have brands. One thing. So here, we're going to say a bar graph would be the best display to compare the responses because this data shows the number of responses for each brand. So a bar graph would be the best display to compare the responses because the status shows the number of responses for each brand. So now number 4 is asking us to represent the above table in the appropriate display. So we talked about the bar graph being our best display. So what it's wanting us to do is is to draw a bar graph, and it's talking about sunscreen. It's talking about favorite sunscreen. Remember, your bar graphs always have to have a title. Okay, and then let's draw a rectangle. And we have A, B, C, D, and E brands. I would like you to finish this bar graph. Remember, this is a bar graph, not a histogram, so your bars do not touch. When you have finished this bar graph, please press play, and we will continue on with the notes. So, number 5 says that the table shows the score of each game the Jaguars softball team played in one season. Select an appropriate type display to allow you to find the mode. Explain your choice. So we got to figure out which one tells us the most. Which one will tell us an individual thing of the most. And that's like number 1. That would be our, can you guess? Dot plot. A dot plot because it will show the value that occurs most. And so here it's asking you to go ahead and represent this display. So remember, you always have to have a title. You want to pull that title out of the table if it shows you. And we have softball game scores. And a dot plot is on a number line. So you want to choose, we see some 1s all the way up to 7, so it might be best to go by 1s here. If you could please finish this dot plot and press play when you are finished, and we will continue with the notes. Which display makes it easier to determine the greatest number of calendars sold? Justify your reasoning. So I just really want you to see the difference here. We have of justifying the most, because, you know, recently we've said most is dot plot. But if you look here, I don't want you to get confused, because we could see that we have some modes right here in this bar graph, but a dot plot is going to show the greatest value as a number rather than the bar. So even though these show you the modes of what's going on, who had the calendar cells, who had the most number of calendars sold, we want a numerical value if possible, and the dot plot just immediately shows you the numerical value. So a dot plot because it will show the greatest value as a number rather than a bar. And our last question, select an appropriate type of display for data gathered about each situation and justify your reasoning. So the median age of people that voted in an election. So which type of graph is going to show you the median? The temperature from 6 a.m. to 12 p.m. This is talking about showing a trend over time. What happened at 12 and what did it do as time went by. And then C is exact test scores from all students in a math class. Okay, so how many times did a student get a certain test score? So it would be the scores on the bottom. I would like you to go through your notes, look at your definitions and that table on the first page, and fill out A, B, C. Tell me which one and why you chose it, and then we will check this over tomorrow in class.